I am all for new, unique shows based around things like the DCEU or the MCU. And going into the MCU's Phase 4, I really think the creatives behind the projects knew that they had to break out from the normal formula of good guys fights the bad guys and wins and saves the day and really go big. I mean, Doctor Strange is leaning on horror and the multiverse and having tons of different characters. WandaVision pays homage to classic sitcoms and also mystery and romance, and WandaVision's first two episodes are out on Disney Plus, and there's not a ton of reviews out so far because people usually wait to see a whole season of a show before rating it, but people seem very polarized on it so far. So I wanted to read through the first reviews that are out, which are pretty positive, but also give you my thoughts on it and where I think they're taking the show. So spoiler alert now. So here is the Metacritic page. It says WandaVision Season 1. It is currently sitting at a 76 Metascore based on 37 critic reviews, and the user score is generally favorable based on 51 ratings. It is sitting at a 7.8. So one of the first reviews is a 10. Straight up 10. First review, it says, "It's not the MCU we are used to, and I love it. Some may find the pace to be slow and therefore boring, but in my opinion, it adds more depth to the whole concept of the series. A comedy show that seems to be jumping from era to era and evolving constantly." The next review is a 88. It says, "WandaVision works as a painstakingly crafted, impressingly spot-on tribute to the evolution of the American sitcom. Later episodes will take us through the 80s and 90s style of comedy and eventually reach a modern family-type world." Someone else named Art Moves gave it a 10 and said that was brilliant and spectacular. Marvel Studios finally surprising, and I can't wait to see where this is headed. In a minute, I am going to talk about my in-depth thoughts, but I really did enjoy the first couple of episodes of WandaVision. I just thought that it was very different than what we've ever seen in the MCU. It's very unique, and it was definitely a risk for Marvel to take. They knew that it was going to be a risk, though, and a lot of the projects for Phase 4 seem to be a risk, but I do think it is a risk that could pay off. As you can see, there are a lot of positive reviews so far. I mean, the overall score is a 76 and a 7.8, but there are quite a few people who feel kind of mixed on the show and just generally negative about where they think it's going to go, and the first two episodes, in their opinions, weren't very good. Someone gave it a 4 and said, "You are gonna like it if you enjoy Marvel movies, but that is the problem to me. It's really difficult to always watch the same thing." Someone named Vic Fenrar said, "Ouch," and gave it a 6. The cheesy material of 60s sitcoms was elevated by the performances of the leads. The Scarlet Witch is one of the flattest MCU characters, and Elizabeth Olsen is no Elizabeth Montgomery. She is hopelessly out of her depth here. Marvel zombies will love it, regardless, of course. And then, going to the negatives, Science Advisor gave it a 3. Cringy humor, boring dialogue, and 2 full episodes that did almost nothing to move the story along. I will update this review as more episodes drop, but if it doesn't pick up by episode 4, I doubt I will continue with the series. Now, I want to give you all my thoughts on the show because I do agree with both sides here, because I do think while it was pretty good, the first 2 episodes were pretty good, they did have some issues. Now, first of all, my biggest problem with this show, hands down, is the length of the episodes and just how much content we're getting. 22 minutes and 7 minutes worth of credits for the first episode was super disappointing. And then 30 minutes for the second episode was still really short. I hope going forward the episodes will be a little bit longer, and we've heard that they might be, and they might differ in length a little bit. But when you have to wait for one episode to come out a week and only get 20 to 30 minutes worth of content, it just kind of makes me not want to watch it until all of the episodes are out. And then half of the time you forget about the show and don't even watch it. You kind of wait for the content to come out. You hope that it's all going to release soon. You're going to be able to just binge it in one day, but then you end up forgetting about it and you just kind of don't care by the end of the couple of months once it's initially released. Now, about the general theme, I've seen people who love it, people who hate it. I actually kind of like the play on the classic sitcoms because they didn't rag on shows like Bewitched or I Love Lucy. It was like they were actually paying homage to them, which is good because they could have tried to make a statement saying how wrong they were about real life and how they weren't representative of real people, but they didn't do that, and I want to give a big props to Marvel for that. But I know a lot of folk didn't really like the sitcom setting, and I know a huge part of those people are going to be people around my age group because that demographic hasn't really seen those shows, so the comedy or nostalgia is going to be lost on them, and they're not going to connect really well with the show and just with the references. It's not the same thing as watching all of these great 80s movies that are still super popular even today. We're talking about in WandaVision how they reference the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. Now, I've had a ton of experiences watching those sitcoms, so I really liked WandaVision, and I think a lot of the jokes are pretty freaking hilarious, but I still think that it needs to go into the classic Marvel direction with superheroes and action and loud music and not just Marvel's version of Bewitched. Wherever it's going, it's gotta go fast too because like I mentioned with the length, there's only 6 more episodes at around 30 minutes long. Now, one of the reviews actually mentions that the first 2 episodes don't really give us a lot of story and just a lot of depth. It's just a lot of comedy and a lot of lightheartedness, and I do kind of agree with that because we don't know where the story's going yet. Now, the whole show seems to be kind of a play on the House of M comics, where Scarlet Witch had a mental breakdown and tried to alter the fabric of reality to recreate people that she lost. And in this case, it seems like it's Vision because last we knew Vision was gone, but suddenly he's back again, and it's like she's kind of created this version of him to cope with her grief, and this is all just a reality she's living in right now. I mean, Scarlet Witch's main powers in the comics are literally reality warping, and I've always kind of thought that Wanda was very underpowered in the MCU, and this could be their turning point where they realize how powerful she can be and how much they can turn her into. They could turn her into an amazing character, and I really hope that's where they're going with WandaVision, but I just don't know yet where they're going to go with S.W.O.R.D., which is the space counterpart of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we've seen multiple times. The Beekeeper had a S.W.O.R.D. logo. At the end of episode 1, there were TVs and there was someone watching, and they had a notebook with the S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on it. I mean, the S.W.O.R.D. logo, excuse me. And we also saw the Hydra logo on a watch. There was a very brief scene, but we did see that as well. So I guess only time will tell. But so far, I do think the show's okay. I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10 at least based on the first 2 episodes. I'm really excited to see where they're going with the next episodes and just the rest of the season. There are a lot of different directions that they could take it in, but I really think they've got to pick up the pace, especially with there only being 6 more episodes that are 30 minutes long. But let everyone know your thoughts about it in the comments section down below. Did you enjoy the first episodes? Did you dislike them? Did you think that they were just a little bit too slow? If you enjoyed this video though, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.